My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. So I just had a cancellation, so I thought I would make some use of my time. I want to do a show on this particular question. Is journaling a good therapy intervention? And when talking with my colleagues, I would say almost all of them believe that journaling is a good therapy intervention. However, I have my doubts. Now, there is some, very little, empirical evidence that does show that journaling can be a good thing for clients. However, I want to take a more of a nuanced look at it. So let's go back in time a little bit when teachers used to use writing sentences and words over and over again as a punishment for children. So does that have any validity to it? Well, on the one hand, knowledge and skills are developed through repetition, so it seems like it could have some validity. However, does writing, for example, I will not talk in class 100 times, does that teach a kid to become more respectful in school? And I would say probably not. But then again, does writing vocabulary words and definitions 100 times, does that help children at all? Can it improve their knowledge? Can it improve their handwriting skills? And here I would say probably yes. So journaling and writing things down can be positive, it can be negative, depending on how we're using it. So let's talk about therapeutic journaling, where a client would be asked to basically freeform and write down their thoughts and feelings. And this could help them with their private reflections and help sort through their own personal experiences. And again, there is some empirical evidence to show that there might be some benefits, which would include decreasing anxiety, decreasing depression. It would be, we could see an increase maybe in self-awareness and insight, maybe improve their physical well-being, and it could help them fully express themselves. Now, why would it do that? Well, there's a possibility that in their life they can't, or they don't feel like they can fully express themselves because there might be some type of punishment, or the people around them are not very empathetic, they don't want to hear them, or they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, so they can't really fully express who they are. So if they're by themselves and they're just writing to themselves, what they can do is maybe start to connect with themselves a little bit better and to be able to say what they really want to say. So there's a possibility of that. Now, full disclosure, when I was going through a period of my life of grief, I was journaling on a regular basis, and I thought it was very beneficial. And I had so much writing, and I thought it could help other people, that I put it all together, and I ended up writing a book. So that's kind of my full disclosure there. I'll get that later. That's my full disclosure of that. I do think that journaling can be extremely positive under the right circumstances and if you're doing it in the right way. Now, can journaling be unproductive? Can it be detrimental? Can it have adverse effects? Because is it true that you're going to gain more insight? Is it true that you're going to gain more self-awareness? Because let's take a look at, for example, a white supremacist. If you have a white supremacist just write down anything they want about their thoughts, their feelings, their perceptions in the world, what do you think is going to come out of that? Probably more of what they already are. And there's also plenty of evidence out there that shows a lot of mass murderers, they do a lot of journaling. They have these manifestos because they're always angry at people, they're always angry at the world. And the more writing they do, the angrier they get. So it's not true that if you take a person with very little insight, very little awareness, that is basically running their life off of a victim mentality, to sit them down in front of a blank piece of paper and expect them to express themselves, and then all of a sudden you're going to see them turn into these empathetic, loving, compassionate creatures just because they're writing words down. It doesn't make any sense. So journaling that's unfettered, just unchallenged, I don't think can always help, and many times it can actually be very hurtful. So when we're talking about writing down over and over again somebody's emotions, somebody's feelings, their perceptions, one of the problems with this is that feelings and emotions are symptoms, and they could be symptoms and products of what? Of personality disorders, of mood disorders, of immaturity, of unresolved trauma, unresolved anger. And so if we're only looking at this, it's the equivalent of just magnifying all of the negative, which would be the equivalent of ruminating, which again causes depression, causes more anger, causes more substance abuse. The feelings that people are writing down, they need to be challenged through cognitive restructuring. They don't need to be indulged more. They don't need to be enhanced, and they don't need to be ruminated about. So again, unfettered, just writing down anything you want can very well separate people from their spouses, from their loved ones, from their families. Because if they have a victim mindset and they already think that they're right and everybody else is wrong and they don't take any responsibility for anything, do you think giving them a pen and paper is going to make them all of a sudden become a person who wants to take total control of their life and takes responsibility? The chances of that is pretty close to zero. So what needs to happen here? Well, again, just journaling for the sake of journaling, I don't think helps, because it invests them more and more into their possible mental illness, and it makes it even harder to dig them out of it. But journaling with a purpose, now I'm all about it. How can we do this? For example, we can help them by saying, let's do a journal, or you can journal this week about all the things that you're grateful for. And you might get answers like, I'm not grateful for anything. Well, this would be a very good thing to do then, because then they need to journal this even more. Because now we are challenging them to look for the positives in their life instead of only focusing on the negative. So the more a person says, I have nothing to be grateful for, the more they need to actually do this focused journaling work. Let's talk about goal journaling, where somebody sets goals, they make plans, and they can track their activities to see if the activities they're doing is taking them further away or closer to their goals. And this can be a very good thing because you can literally see it here. For example, if somebody wants to get a better job and they need more education, but during the week they've taken no initiative to do any of those types of things, they haven't researched some type of school to go to or a program or anything like that, they'll have to write that down and say, well, I decided to watch Netflix. That was more important to me this week than actually getting an education. Or if somebody says, I wanted to lose 2 pounds this week. Well, what did you do? You still woke up late, then you ate donuts for breakfast. You can write these things down and you could track very easily why you're not getting to your goals with the thought of you can change these things. So what we're looking here at is if we are going to do journaling with somebody, yes, it's important for emotions and feelings to be expressed, but we can do from there is to challenge those to see if those feelings and emotions are based off of reality, and if they're based off of things that they can actually change within themselves and stop complaining about how the world sucks. And somebody that was maybe, I see this too, 30, 40, and 50-year-olds complaining that they can't do the right things at the right time because when they were 5 years old, their mother or father didn't say, I love you on a particular day. And it makes no sense to keep blaming the world when you are right there. So I think journaling is something that we want to focus on the present, and then we can move them to a positive future as well. We could also do resilience journaling, where they could answer a question such as, what have I learned through my life? Again, try to make that positive. You can't say what I learned is that people can't be trusted and I need to be alone, stuff like that. But we want to move them to a positive area. Or journal the question, how can I take more responsibility in my life? Or if I took 10% more responsibility of my life, what would that look like? What would I be doing? How would my life change in a year? So we can start to move them towards positive action. So again, just to do a quick synopsis here, is journaling a good therapy intervention? I believe it can be, but it's like everything else. It has to be done in the right way, with the right people. And that's like with anything. In other words, a knife is really good to cut a steak, but it could also hurt a person as well. So we need to use journaling in the right way with the right people and guide people, and not just indulge negativity and then only pay attention to that, because that does not help people change. Hopefully this has been beneficial in some way. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.